that has got me going live, which would be great. Yeah, hopefully that's worked. And we are now live on both Facebook and YouTube. Little bit late, sorry about that, because it decided it locked me out as always. And whenever it locks me out, I can't get it. Takes me a while to get back in again. I've just realised I've done my coffee over there, so I'm just going to go and get it. Because we all need coffee. I always make it and then I forget about it and then I have to have it here. I'm just thinking I could do with a sheet of paper as well. See, that it'll do. It's okay. Right. Oh, look. Oh, I didn't think I'd swapped it over, but there we go. We have swapped it over, obviously. Let me swap back so we can talk a bit first, because there's a couple of things I want to mention before we actually start going. No idea why that happened. And that isn't straight either, but anyway, hopefully it'll work. Yeah. So thank you for joining me. As always, please do let me know who's watching and where you're from. It's been a funny sort of week. I was away last week, as you know. We didn't have a live because we were down in County Wicklow. We were so lucky with the weather. It was fabulous. We had a lovely time. Beautiful county, worth visiting if you get the chance. It's so beautiful with the mountains and the countryside to see. Anyway, we're back now. We're back on live, and we should have all the lives now for the rest of the month. Through to the middle of November, and then I am away again. But if you sign up for my emails, you get all that information, so it's not a problem. At the moment, there's quite a lot going on in the Stamping Up world. And one of the things is that there is now a Stamping Up advent calendar. It's called the 12 Days of 12 Days of Christmas, can't remember now. But anyway, it's an advent calendar. It is fairly expensive, but it has some lovely things. And a couple of my demo friends, certainly one in America, has been actually doing some sneak peeks. So you can get some spoiler alerts if you want as to what's in there. And it is fabulous. There's stamps, there is paper, there are dies, there are tools, there are gems. So far, that's what I've seen. So it is probably worth it. I am going to order mine. You can order it from the 1st of October, which is tomorrow. So yes, do. Actually, I think you can order it now. Not sure. Did that one come out earlier? I'm getting so lost. But the other big thing for October, which starts tomorrow, is that there is a new joining offer. Well, there are two. You can choose between two. You can get £130 worth of products for just £35. I think that's the best offer ever, because even with the 170 for £90, that's it's quite a lot. £99 is quite a lot to spend, but £35 on craft stuff and getting £130 worth of products for that is more than worth it. So have a look at the Stamping Up site and see that, because it is really a good joining offer. And as I've said before, you can join and get that benefit, and you get to keep the stuff, whatever. You need never buy anything else again if you don't want to. It does come with free shipping, so there's no additional charges to add into that £35. And I just think that's the best offer ever. So if you're looking for some more craft supplies, then please do think about using that offer. As I said, you never have to buy anything else again if you don't want to. If you do and you remain a demonstrator, then you get some of the perks of being a demonstrator. Part of that is the fabulous community with other demonstrators, without which I'd be lost. But also it's you get discounts on your orders. So it is worth it. Do ask me if you want any more information on that. I can't remember. There was one other thing to tell you about, and I can't remember what it was. But anyway, it's a new month. There are new kits out. There are new, I know what it was. Yeah, World Card Making Day. It's worth signing up for World Card Making Day, which is on Saturday. If you sign up, apparently we're all going to get some sort of gift afterwards, which would be nice. And you can join in and watch it on Saturday. I think it's 1 o'clock UK time and Ireland time. But I think Sarah's going to use one of the kits, Heartfelt Hugs and Heartfelt, or Hearts and Heartfelt or something. Anyway, if you haven't got the kit, it doesn't matter. She'll still give you some great ideas for crafting. Anyway, I think that's enough for now. There's probably more news that I've forgotten about, but sign up for my emails and then you'll get it every week. So today, I don't know about you, but I always have, come off, stick it down again. I always have lots and lots of bits of scrap DSP. Bits that are quite big and that I never want to quite throw away. I don't keep the tiny bits, but for example, these bits here, just move those over to find them. I would keep pieces this size because they're too big to throw away. But then I often think, well, what will I do with them? What should I do with these sort of things? So I'm going to show you today how to make some cards, and I've shown you a couple of different layouts, and I'm going to talk through several other different ways to use these scraps, even if you've got smaller scraps. So what I've done is cut my scraps and then put them on a coloured background and just laid them on basic white card. So I've just got a nice basic white card, because these are for Christmas cards and you want to make them simple and quick to make and probably not take up too much of your precious stash. So that's why we've done it this way. So these, I've got 2 slightly smaller panels and 2 slightly larger ones on that one, laid out in that same way. On this one, I've alternated them. So I put a small by a large, large and small, smaller, and put them on that way, and just put the sentiment in the middle. And I put some of that rather nice gold trim behind it, just folded it over a few times so it looks a little bit more substantial than a single layer of it looks, and then just stuck my sentiment on top with some dimensionals. So how to make these sorts of cards. I want to go through my process for how I've designed them, because if you wanted to do something slightly different, I'll show you how to do it. So the first thing to think about is, what size is your card front? So if you sort of draw out a draft card front, for our UK sizes, we have it to 10.5 centimetres wide and 14.8 deep. That is half a sheet of A4 for us. For US sizes, it is 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. So it doesn't matter which size you use. So I wanted to work out, well, what if, I'm going to use, no, I'll use this because I can use that horrible scribbly side, but it doesn't matter. So if I wanted to have 4 panels, I could either have them 4 of much the same size, or 4, you know, select different sizes like the ones I've done there. But to work out how big they need to be, how wide they need to be, then you have to allow for a border at either side and between them. So if, for example, I wanted 3 across, then I would need to look at dividing it up and have 2 borders and 2 gaps. Hope that makes sense. If I want to have 2 panels, then I need this gap to be much the same. So I perhaps want it to be, I don't know, 0.5 centimetre or something like that. So I need 3 lots of those. So if we said it was 0.5 centimetre, then that would make 1½ centimetres. Yeah, you with me on that? I hope this is making some sort of sense. And then you take that from the width, which leaves you 9 centimetres, which means that each panel for 2 panels, it would be 9. So it would actually be 4½ centimetres for each of those panels. So this distance would be 4½. If I was doing the same with 3 panels, then that would be 2 borders plus 2, which is 4, which would be 2 centimetres, leaving 8½ and divide 8½ by 3. That would leave it at 8.5 divided by 3, which is something like, I can't work it out, I should have worked this out before because I've now got to do maths, but something like 2.8. So you get the idea. If you wanted 4, you would divide it by 2½ off, so that would be 7, and you'd divide that by 4, etc., etc. You could make this smaller, of course, and have it less than 0.5. I allowed 0.5 because that allows me to add in a border of a cardstock just to frame my DSP, and still have enough width to allow a border. And you can see from here, my borders are now approximately 0.2 to 0.3 centimetres. I think they look about right for that. Up to you, but that's how I worked it out. And then I did exactly the same for the depth. So 14.8, if I need to take 3 off, and 1.5 off 14.8 leaves 13.3. So that means that I can divide it up into 7.9 is roughly what it divides up into. Say a 7.9 and a 6.4. I've made them different. You could divide it in half. That would be 6.65, which is a bit difficult to measure on our things. And I wanted them to be a little bit different. I think exact shapes are probably a bit too much, but if you wanted them, then that's the figure you want, the 6.65, and each of these would be 6.65. I've actually changed it, and I've made one slightly bigger and one slightly smaller. But that's how you work out how many. If you wanted 3 down, again, you would take off 2. So that would be 12.8, and you could divide that by 3, making something like about 4.3 each. For 3 panels, and so on. So I hope that explains how I've done it. I've tried to write it in the blog, but we'll see. But this is the sort of thing we come up with. These are retired bits of DSP, but they're for my Christmas cards. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to show you how I've done it. So that's how I've done it to work out what we needed. So to make these sorts of cards, you need a card base. And this is just the ordinary card base. So in centimetres, 21 by 14.8, scored in half at 10.5. And I can find my bone folder. I've got a new bone folder, actually, but I'm still using this old dirty one. Oh, well, it still works. It's just dirty. So that's our card base. Then we want to cut the DSP, and I've shown you how I worked it out. I've already prepared some of these bits. So what I did was measured the across measurement that I've shown you how to do from the the across bit of the card, the 10.5. So each of these are 4.5 centimetres wide. And these are 2 bigger panels. And I said I've put them at 7, I think 7.7 I made them, and the other one 6.4, something like that. It adds up to 13.3, whichever way you do it anyway. So those are my bigger pieces. So I need to cut 2 smaller pieces, and I need to decide, do I match it with this or that, or match that with whichever? Those are a bit too similar, I think. I think you know what, I might use this bit and well, I can cut them and then we can decide which sides to use. Who knows? See which I feel like at the time. So for the other pieces, if those are 4.5 by 6, no, 4.5 by 7.3, I think those are. I will put, 7.3, yeah, 7.3, the card bits need to be bigger. So I need this piece to be 4.5 wide, but then this time I'm going to make it 6 long. So I'm going to cut it at 12, so I can get 2 pieces from here and not waste any. This piece can be for something else later. And these need to be 4.5 wide. So I'm going to trim that to 4.5. And then, so I throw some small bits away, but I keep bigger bits. Then I'm going to cut it in half at 6. So I've got 2 pieces 6 by 4.5 and 2 pieces of 6 by 7.3. So you can see what I mean about having them slightly different. Yeah, but they will fit below or above. I still need to decide which ones to use. I think I might use that side. Anyway, so you also need pieces of, if you want to put a layer on, you could just use it as DSP if you wanted, but I think it looks much nicer if it's got a border. And I've used one of the colours from the DSP, in this case garden green, and I've already cut these pieces ready, and I've just made these 0.2 bigger on each side, so the total size is 0.4 bigger. So for my 4.5 width, I've used 4.9. And then the depth for the 6 one, I've used 6.4. And for the 7.3 one, I've used 7.7. So that is how I've worked them out. I hope that makes some sort of sense. So the next stage is to stick your DSP onto your pieces of cardstock. I need to make a decision about these. Let me lay them on and see which I like best. That's probably the best way to do it. So we could have that and that, or that and that. I think I quite like that side. Might use that side today. Right, so we're going to stick those on. Hi, Kay, Indiana in the US. Thank you for telling me where you're from. Thank you for joining me today. I hope my explanations weren't giving you too much of a headache. I hope it makes some sort of sense. But we'll see how we go with this anyway. So I'm just going to stick these on their layers. So you can see that gives me, with cutting it 0.4 bigger, it gives me a 0.2 border all the way around, which is brilliant, and still leaves me a 0.3 border at the sides and between the pieces. That's an awful lot of measurements, isn't it? I've probably gone on too much about the measurements. I shall shut up and we'll just stick these together and then put a card together. Let's do that. Oh, dearie me. So you can use, as I said, any bits of DSP. you could do the same procedure for a landscape card. If you wanted to do it landscape, you might want, say, 3 columns of 2 each or something like that. But you just need to work it out in the way I've hopefully shown you to make some sort of sense. And I hope it does make sense. Please do get in touch if it doesn't. I'm very happy to talk it through with anybody. You like the small leaves too? Jolly good. I'm glad I've chosen those then, because I couldn't decide which side to use at all. But anyway, this is, I can't remember what this DSP was called. It's from last year, but I haven't obviously put it in the blog because it is now retired. Okay. So those are my pieces to lay out, and then it's a matter of deciding how to lay them out. You can either have them sideways, top and bottom, like that one, or I think for this one in particular, I'll have them offset. So I have a big and a little on each side, if that makes sense, yeah? So I think we'll do it like that. So now we can stick them on. Now, because I know my sizes, I know what size my border needs to do. And I found the best way to stick these on is to choose one of your panels, doesn't actually matter which one, and stick that on with your point, as I said, it's 0.3. I'm not going to measure it, I'm just going to eyeball it. But it's about that. You learn a little bit what the sort of borders should look like. So then we can stick the same one underneath so they can be in line. So we'll stick this one underneath. I don't think there's a particular direction on those. Obviously, if you're using directional DSP, then you do need to think about where you're actually putting that, which way you're cutting it. But it doesn't matter with leaves and things. They really they'll grow either way, particularly that paper. It doesn't seem to matter which way around that one is. So this one actually looks more upright there, but so we'll stick it this way. So again, we're just using the line here to make it the same, and the gap, make it the gap the same between and at the side of each of those pieces, and then you can put the final one on to match up again. And that's how to line them up. It's pretty straightforward and fairly obvious, I think. So we'll pop this one just down here. I think the most important bit to line up is the line along the bottom and the top, because you'll see that more and you'd see any mistake there. So that's my basic card. And then I just want to add a sentiment. And I've just got a little scrap of card there that I'm going to stamp my sentiments on. I used garden green for this, so I'm going to use for the coloured cardstock layer. So I'm going to use garden green for my sentiment. And I've chosen the sentiment from Greetings of the Season, which again was a set from last year. But you can put whichever sentiment you want. You can make this, obviously, for anything. You can make it as a birthday card. Gosh, it's quite tight. I knew I did measure it, but there we go, just about. So we've put that on, and I just die cut using one of the Greetings of the Season dies from last year. I cut out this shape. I don't know if you can see, but it's actually a tag. There's a hole here. But I've got a great idea for how I can hide that when I put it on, because I don't want to use it as a tag for this. Now, you could, on the cards I showed you before, I used some ribbon underneath my sentiment. This time I'm just going to, whoops, let's get it on the right side, the correct side. So popping that in the center, hopefully it's straight. Little bit of wiggle room, good, because I needed to. So that is my sentiment. So I'm going to stick it on with some dimensionals. I'll use a couple of the strips from the side because I don't want to waste any bits of dimensional papers. Don't need to. And you can stick some die cuts behind this. If I could die cut some leaves in gold or silver or whatever because it's Christmas, or I can just have it central. I think around center is about right for this. So I'm actually going to have it slightly above center because I'm going to line that up with the whole that side. Doesn't really matter too much. And I am going to use, if I haven't lost them, what have I done with them? Oh, they're there. I'm going to use the gems. These are the traditional sparkling sequins. These are a current product, but I rather like these. They're beautiful. So we've got them in 4 different colours in 3 different sizes. probably leave them on the white, you'll see them better, in 3 different sizes. You can see I've already used quite a few, but they are lovely. I'm going to use the green. Shall I use the red? I might use the red actually. I'm going to use the red middle size, and I'm going to stick a gem over that hole where the tag would go if it was a tag, and then I've hidden it with a gem. So, looks quite dark on there, but hopefully you can see the gems that I could put more around here if I wanted. Might be nice to put them on there. Actually, I know what I would put on there. I would put, where is my Wink of Stella? Let's do some Wink of Stella berries. Why not? Just give it a really good shake because I haven't used it for a while. Go with it. There, hopefully that's enough. We'll just have some Wink of Stella on the berries. Oh, yes. Why not? I'll just stand out a little bit now. So I don't know if you can see the glistening on them. I hope you can. If I just move it like that, perhaps you can see that they glisten. The berries glisten now. Just adds a little bit more sparkle. So there is my really simple, straightforward card for that. And I'm just going to stamp a sentiment inside as well. It's the most wonderful time of year. Oh, I've managed to touch. Oh, I'm going to put it there. So I've managed to touch my card with my ink, which is silly. So I've had to move it over so it hides it. Oh, silly. Anyway, there we go. So that is that card. You can see you can get completely different looks depending on whether you use different colours, when you use, I need to stick that down properly. I think one of the dimensionals has stopped being sticky. Whether you use gems or ribbon or have it wider or shorter. They're just all slightly different, these cards, but they're made in very much the same way. But of course, we don't need to use colour necessarily. And I've got here some DSP that I've got 2 bits of that, that's all right, that I've had before with snowflakes and stars on it. So I'm going to do much the same. Now, these are strips, and these strips are, let's have a look, are they wide enough? Let's check. So they are actually 4.5, which is perfect, obviously from another pattern that I had. And I've just got, how have I got ink on there? Oh, on my thumb. So I won't use that bit, that's fine. So we now need to cut these, and these are cut this exactly the same as before. I'm going to use the same measurements to save me worrying too much. I'll cut the other bit from the other end because I've got a little bit of green on that piece from the ink, which is silly. So there's 2 big white bits, and then I'll cut the smaller bits of this, which is 6 centimetres. And I've just used basic black as my colour for this one. There we go. And I've already cut my card pieces, so they are all ready. And I've used the same centre with the little bit cut out. Oof. I really need to change my trimmer blade yet again. I seem to go through trimmer blades like there's no tomorrow, but then I do use it roughly every day, so I suppose it's not too surprising, really. Okay, so I'm just going to stick these on as before. Actually, what I could have done, yeah, do you know what we'll do? I think I'm just going to cut a long piece of this, a 7.4 bit of this, and a 6 bit of that, and we'll just see if alternating them actually looks quite nice. Let's try that. So I was thinking of doing the same piece on each of these, but actually if we alternated it, I can have them laid out in the same way, but the patterns will alternate. So this is another way to do it. You know, you just play around and see what you decide is the best way. So let's try this one this way around. So we'll have one black and white top and bottom. Rather than alternating the sizes as we've done before, we're just going to alternate the patterns on these. So Yeah, why not? It's one. And two. These are snowflakes, so I don't need to worry about direction at all. They're the stars. Yeah, the stars couldn't go sideways because we've got diamond ones, but that's fine because I didn't want to use them sideways. So as I said, you can use any sizes of pieces of paper, just work them out in the way I showed you at the start of the video. But it's a great way to use up your scraps, it really is. That piece looks a little bit too big. Where's that piece a little bit too big? Let's measure it. Should be 7.7. And it isn't, it is a bit too big. That's why it looks a bit too big. There. Just cut off my little hairy bits. Okay, so for this one, let's just fold that on my bone folder. Just fold that up again. Right, so this one, I'm actually going to alternate the colours like that, which is another way to do it. So I've got the same sizes I've used before, but I'm going to put them on so I alternate the patterns this time. So in the same way as before, we're just going to use that little border that I know is the right sort of size. Let's get these on quickly and then do a sentiment again. Look, I've made that one bigger. Well, it should be okay because it'll be a little bit hidden anyway. I've definitely got those different sizes, which is crazy. I measured them. Anyway. We will manage somehow. So I've got a slightly bigger gap there. Never mind. Unless I use that little tiny bit I cut off to fill it in, I could do. Let's see. That little tiny bit I cut off, I could actually stick on there. No. We'll leave it like that. It'll be okay when I stick something across the middle anyway. So do measure properly, folks. Unlike me, who's clearly not measured that properly at all, I'll just use this same greeting because it's out. Stick that on. So I hope this has given you some ideas as to how to use these. Other ideas are to use inch squares. A lot of people do that with DSP and just make a real random pattern. You can get about 9 to 12 squares, depending on where you want to put a sentiment, to do that. So that's another way of thinking about it. Just lost the area. Yeah, so just have a play around, but it's just nice to find ways, I think, to use up DSP scraps because, as I said, some of the tiny scraps I obviously throw away, but some of the bigger scraps, you're so reluctant to throw them away, but they're not enough for a card on their own. So this was my idea. This is why I wanted to share this idea. Doesn't look too bad, that gap. It is the wrong gap, but never mind. Could always put some ribbon or something over it, I suppose, couldn't I? Right, this time I think I'll use the gold ones to cover up my gap there. There. So another one there. You can see really simple and quick to make. So if you're making a lot of Christmas cards, then yeah, it's worth having a look at your stash of DSP and see how you go with those. I could add a little bit of now I've got my Wink of Stella out. I'll keep using it, I think. Let's use it in the centre of these stars. Just make them glisten just a tiny bit. And in the centre of the snowflake, why not? Getting carried away now, putting bit drops of Wink of Stella everywhere. Why not? It'll all glisten. If I start doing those, I am going to be here forever, but just do a few of them. Stop soon. There we go. Just do that one. Oh, and these, I haven't done these. No, I am getting carried away. I'm doing all sorts now. Right, I'd better stop. Let me stop there. But that just gives a little tiny bit more glitter. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not. It's not a nice day. If we had sunshine, I think it would sort of show the glitter, but it is there. Anyway, there we go. Just need to stamp what I want to put inside it, and then that's another card finished. And I'm getting on with my cards because I need to have mine done by really the end of October so that I can get them sent. Anyway, I hope you like the idea. That's given me, 4 cards now, all done by the same idea, but still not all the same, because I don't like doing, apart from getting a new dimension on there to make sure that corner sits down. I hope you like them, and have a go yourself and see what you can make with them. So thank you for joining me today. The blog with my hopefully better explained method of how to work out your sizes is going to be published as soon as I put the video link in it for this video, so people can see this if they need to. Thank you for joining me today. I have got my Craftalong on Thursday, and you don't need too much for the card I'm going to make, just a coloured background, some matching DSP and a piece of basic white. So I hope you can join me there. That's on Zoom. The Zoom link was in the email from this week, so I hope you've got that. And I hope to see you again next Tuesday. It'll probably be more Christmas cards because I need plenty of those just at the moment. Thanks for joining me then today. The website, better tell you about the website in case you're not sure where it is, craftycarolscards.co.uk. Bye.